Birthdays were supposed to be celebrations of life, love, and togetherness. Every year, my mother's birthday had always been a sacred day in our family. Balloons would fill the living room, the smell of freshly baked cake would drift through the house, and laughter would echo until late at night. But that year it was different. I had spent weeks planning something special for her. My savings weren't much, but I worked extra shifts, cut down on small pleasures, and bought her the one thing she had once admired in a shop window, a delicate silver bracelet shaped like a chain of small roses. To me, it was more than jewelry. It was a symbol of love, a reminder of everything I had left to give, even if life had been cruel. The house was filled with relatives, cousins, and neighbors. Everyone was gathered around, singing birthday songs, clapping, and showering her with gifts. I stood in the corner, holding my small box, waiting for the right moment. When the noise settled and my mother looked around at all the happy faces, I stepped forward. My heart pounded in my chest. My hands trembled as I extended the gift. "Happy birthday, Mom," I whispered, hoping my voice didn't crack. For a moment, her eyes landed on me, cold, unreadable. She didn't smile, didn't even reach for the box. Instead, she said words that would carve themselves into my soul forever. "The best gift you can give me is if you leave my life forever." The room fell silent. The laughter evaporated like smoke, replaced by a heavy stillness. I thought maybe I had misheard. Maybe it was a cruel joke. But no, she repeated it, louder this time, so every guest could hear. "Don't bring me trinkets. Don't stand in my way. The only thing I want from you is to disappear. That will be my real gift." A part of me shattered that night. My chest tightened, and my throat burned with tears I couldn't let fall. Everyone was staring, some whispering, some smirking, some pretending not to hear. My gift box slipped from my hands and hit the floor with a soft thud. The little silver roses inside scattered like broken promises. I wanted to scream, to ask why. What had I done so wrong to deserve this? But her eyes, filled with disgust, warned me not to speak, so I didn't. I walked out of the room, out of the house, out of her life. The night was cold. The stars blurred through my tears. My footsteps echoed on the empty road as I kept walking with no direction, no plan, no idea of where I would end up. I only knew one thing: my mother had wished me gone, and I would grant her that wish. That was the night I vanished. The first night away from home felt like falling into an endless pit. The city I had grown up in suddenly became a stranger, its streets too wide, its lights too harsh. I had no money, except for the few bills in my wallet. No friends who would understand. No relatives who would shelter me. My mother's words played in my head over and over like a cruel lullaby. "The best gift you can give me is if you leave my life forever." I had granted her wish, but in doing so, I had stripped myself of everything. I spent the first few nights sleeping on bus, stop benches, clutching my small backpack like it contained my entire life. I remember one evening, rain pouring so hard it soaked through my thin jacket, sitting under a flickering streetlight, staring at my reflection in the puddles. My face looked different, older, harder, like someone who had lived through a storm. I took odd jobs just to survive. Washing dishes in a tiny roadside cafe, sweeping floors in a supermarket after midnight, handing out flyers on dusty corners. Every rupee I earned went to food and the cheapest room I could find. A single, damp space with cracked walls and a window that wouldn't close. But every night, before sleep claimed me, I would stare at the ceiling and whisper the same question: why wasn't I enough? The memories hurt the most. The way she used to brush my hair before school. The lullabies she sang when I was sick. The small notes she used to leave in my lunchbox when I was a child. It all felt like a dream now. A beautiful lie that had ended with a single sentence. Yet, in the darkness of that small, damp room, something began to burn inside me. It started as a faint flicker, but it grew stronger with every insult, every hunger pang, every cold night. It wasn't hatred, not yet. It was determination. I promised myself that I would never be this powerless again. That one day, I would build a life so strong, so unshakable, that no one, not even the woman who had cast me out, could look at me with disgust. So, I started studying at night after work. I borrowed old textbooks from a library, taught myself skills through free tutorials on a broken phone. Slowly, painfully, I moved from odd jobs to better ones: a receptionist, a junior assistant, an intern at a small marketing firm. Each step forward was like climbing a mountain barefoot, but with every promotion, every certificate, every pay raise, I felt that fire inside me grow. I stopped checking her social media. I stopped asking about her through old neighbors. I cut off every thread that tied me back to the life I had left. But deep down there was a vow carved into my heart, a silent promise: one day I will return, not to beg for your love, not to show my wounds, but to show you what you lost when you told me to. Vanish. Years passed like this. My wardrobe changed from thrift store clothes to crisp shirts and blazers. My meals went from stale bread to warm dinners in small cafes. People began to respect me, my colleagues, my clients, even strangers. But in my dreams, I was still that wet, shivering child under a streetlight, clutching an empty backpack. And in those dreams, my mother's voice still echoed. But soon, I told myself, that voice would fade, because soon it would be my turn to stand in front of her, and when I did, it would not be as the broken child she had thrown away. It would be as someone she would no longer recognize, someone she could never dismiss again. Years slipped by like pages in a book, and with each one, I rewrote my story. The boy who once vanished in tears was gone. In his place stood someone sharper, calmer, and stronger. Success hadn't come overnight. It came in fragments. A promotion here, a project there, long nights spent working while others slept, sacrifices that no one saw. But slowly, my name began to carry weight. People sought my advice. My signature sealed deals. The company I built from nothing started appearing in newspapers, then on TV. The world knew me, even if my mother didn't. I had erased myself from her life, just as she had wanted. But destiny has a way of circling back. One evening, I was invited to a charity gala at a luxurious hotel. The room sparkled with chandeliers, the air humming with laughter, clinking glasses, and soft music. I walked in wearing a tailored black suit, confidence wrapped around me like armor, and then I saw her. My mother, not the woman I remembered, but a version of her I barely recognized. Her hair had streaks of gray. Her shoulders were tense, her eyes darting nervously, as if searching for someone who might help her. She wasn't surrounded by admirers anymore. The friends and relatives who once laughed in our house were nowhere to be seen. I overheard whispers. Her business had failed. People she trusted had tricked her, taken her money, and left her with debts. The glamorous life she had chosen over me had crumbled. For a moment, my chest tightened. I thought about walking up to her, about saying her name. But then I remembered the night she had looked at me with nothing but coldness in front of everyone and asked me to vanish. So I didn't speak. I stood at a distance, silent, observing. She glanced at me once, our eyes meeting for a fleeting second. But she didn't recognize me. To her, I was just another successful man in a room full of strangers. That was my revenge, not words, not anger, not confrontation, just silence. She had thrown me away like I was nothing. Now she stood in ruins, and I stood in the light. And she didn't even know that the child she had discarded was the man she was now staring at. As the evening continued, I saw her approach different people, asking for help, for connections, for second chances. Most gave polite excuses. Some avoided her entirely. The same people she had once chosen over me now turned their backs on her. And I remained still. Inside, a storm raged. Part of me wanted to step forward to tell her, I am the son you pushed away. Look at me now. Another part whispered, no, she doesn't deserve to know. Let her live with her choices. So I chose silence. The sweetest revenge wasn't shouting at her, wasn't humiliating her in public. It was showing her, without words, that I had survived, that I had thrived, that I had built a life greater than she could have imagined. As the night ended, I walked out of the gala without ever approaching her. She never knew who I was, but I knew that fate had already played its part, because soon the time would come. Soon I would stand before her, not as the child who begged for love, but as the man who no longer needed it. And that moment would be the gift she never wanted. For a long moment I froze. My mother, the woman who once wished me gone, was now reaching for me. Life had a strange sense of irony. When I walked into the small, dim hospital room, she looked like a ghost of the woman I remembered. Thin, frail, her face lined with the kind of sorrow that only regret could carve. Her eyes lifted slowly, and for the first time in years, they met mine, really met mine. Recognition struck, her lips trembled. "It's you." I didn't rush forward. I didn't fall into her arms. I stood at a distance, calm, collected, the silence between us heavier than any words. Tears spilled from her eyes. I was wrong. I should never have said those things. I should never have let you go. Please forgive me. 1,000 memories collided in my mind. The coldness of her eyes that birthday night. The hunger, the loneliness, the rain. Soaked benches, the years of struggle. And then the vow I had made. One day, I'll return not to beg, but to show you what you lost. I stepped closer, pulling a chair beside her bed. My voice was steady, without anger, without pity. "Do you remember your birthday? Do you remember what you asked me for?" Her sobs grew louder. "I was cruel, I was blinded by pride. Please, my child, don't leave me again. I have nothing now, I only want you." For a long while, I simply looked at her. The woman who had once held my hand when I was a child now reached for it again. But the years between us had built a wall too high to climb. Finally, I whispered the words that had haunted me for so long. "The best gift I can give you is to vanish again." Her hand froze midair. Her tears flowed, but I stood up, adjusting my coat, my heart heavy yet unbroken. "I survived without you. I built everything you thought I could never build, and I'll walk away again, not out of hate, but because you chose this fate." With that, I turned and walked out of the hospital room, my footsteps echoing like thunder in the silence. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. My revenge hadn't been in destroying her life. Life had already done that. My revenge was in showing her, through strength and silence, what she had lost. And as I stepped into the sunlight outside, I realized something profound. Her words had once broken me. But in breaking me, they had forged me into something stronger. The child she didn't want had become the person she could never reach. That was the gift she never wanted. That was my sweet revenge.